The Trump administration, in collusion with the Israeli government, has carried out a despicable act of murder by killing Iranian nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Fakhrizadeh was a professor of physics at Imam Hussein University in Tehran and was the former head of Iran's Physics Research Center. His car was allegedly attacked by an unidentified group of terrorists on a road outside of Tehran on Friday, and he was shot in the gunfire exchange between those terrorists and his bodyguards, and he later died at the hospital. Now, though no group has taken responsibility for the murder, let's not act as if we don't know who was behind this. Just 2 weeks ago, it was revealed that Donald Trump had been peddling the idea of striking Iran in some way, asking his advisors about a possible attack on a nuclear site in the country after the International Atomic Energy Agency issued a report indicating that Iran had increased its stockpile of low-grade uranium beyond the 300-kilogram limit that was set in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that Iran agreed to in 2015. But before you condemn Iran for violating anything, remember that Trump pulled the U.S. out of the deal in 2018, although Iran was adhering to the terms and conditions of the agreement. Despite that, the Trump administration still imposed more sanctions on Iran after withdrawing from the agreement. Iran, of course, protested the move by the U.S. and the accusations, reserving their right to seek mediation through a dispute resolution mechanism written into the agreement that was designed to address other parties' concerns that signatories' commitments were not being met. It was the United States that did not abide by the terms of the dispute resolution mechanism and the agreement on the whole. Still, Iran gave the other signatory nations, France, Germany, UK, China, and Russia, weeks to pull the U.S. back into engaging the terms of the agreement for dispute resolution. And when no action was taken by the other signatory nations to correct or even confront the U.S. in any way, then, and I mean a whole 60 weeks later, did Iran begin to increase its stockpile of low-grade uranium. Iran was operating within their rights and according to the terms of the agreement, and was responding to not only the baseless U.S. accusations that they were not adhering to the agreement, they were responding to the exit of the U.S. from it and to the sanctions imposed on them by the U.S. that violated the terms of the JCPOA, but Iran was also responding to the other signatory countries to the agreement for not protecting Tehran from the actions of the United States, namely sanctions. And as a matter of fact, back in 2019, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Abbas Mousavi said Tehran would reverse course if, quote, more practical, mature, and complete measures were taken. But the European nations focused their efforts on getting Iran to an agreement that the U.S. had violated, while letting the U.S. off the hook. The corporate media reported that it was Iran that had breached or violated the JCPOA, but that was a blatant and dangerous lie. And remember that in 2018, the same year that Trump pulled the U.S. out of the agreement, Israel's embattled Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a press conference in which he displayed some of the worst PowerPoint slides I have seen in many, many years to accuse Iran of having a highly developed covert nuclear weapons program and to brag about Mossad agents stealing binders of documents from Iran about this covert program. Although, why a modern country such as Iran would store sensitive documents about a secret program on paper documents stored in binders like it was 1995 was a question nobody bothered to ask then. But during that press conference, Netanyahu named Fakhrizadeh as a sort of Israel's public enemy number one. Remember that name, Fakhrizadeh, Netanyahu said. In fact, the U.S. State and Treasury departments had been sanctioning Fakhrizadeh since 2008, claiming that he led the covert nuclear weapons program. Now, Iran has long said that it has been pursuing nuclear energy programs, looking to build nuclear power plants to improve power delivery to its citizens. Now, this makes perfect sense for other countries, including those that are signatories of the JCPOA, who all have nuclear energy plants. But for Iran, it's an inherent threat, not because it actually is, but because the U.S. and Israel say it is. The other signatory countries to the JCPOA are trying to keep Iran's nuclear weapons plans from ever materializing after they have collectively amassed more nuclear weapons than any of us really know the number of, and they intend to keep it that way. And this includes Israel, a country that was sharing nuclear weapons secrets with the apartheid government of South Africa so they could build a bomb, but accuses Iran of already having nuclear weapons, while Israel never admits that they have any. Israel actually has hundreds, if not thousands, of nuclear weapons, largely thanks to the U.S. and its covert nuclear weapons agreement. So why do this? Why was this disgusting and criminal act that even former CIA Director John Brennan said was criminal and highly reckless? All this will do is to continue to destabilize an already volatile Middle East. And despite the claims of curbing Iran's alleged nuclear weapons ambition, this assassination doesn't make Israel safer. It doesn't make America safer. It doesn't make the Middle East safer. The Netanyahu government understands that the incoming Biden administration will not be as accommodating of him as the Trump administration is when it comes to the political Zionist agenda, even though, let's be honest, Biden won't be harsh on Netanyahu or whoever succeeds him either. They just won't get the public and overt pats on the back that they've gotten from Trump's Christian Zionist cult following. So this is Israel's attempt to disrupt any efforts by the Biden administration to re-enter the nuclear treaty agreement, which the Trump administration abandoned. So by extension, this is obviously Trump's parting shot at Biden in this regard as well. This action also fully exposes the cowardice and complicity of European nations in not strenuously opposing the U.S. and in particular Israel in their continued aggression toward Iran. Now, there is arguably not a more troublesome relationship in the world than the one this criminal imperialist white supremacist government has with the rogue Israeli white supremacist government. Biden has a chance here to change this evil alliance and show the world that America is truly ready to become the leader that it claims to be, that it aspires to be, by getting tough with Israel, by stopping the economic and military aid and applying sanctions on Israel for its continued violations of UN human rights standards toward Palestinians and for its murderous foreign policies toward its so-called enemies. Biden could also lift all sanctions against Iran and cease the demonization of that nation's right to self-determination in a world full of nuclear superpowers led by some of the most Islamaphobic and egomaniacal leaders we've seen in probably all of history, and reinstate the JCPOA and ensure that the U.S. adheres to it. But Biden won't do those things, because doing so would signal that the U.S. and Israelis' policies and aggression toward Iran were always wrong. And being an Islamophobic, warmongering, imperialist nuclear superpower means never admitting that you're wrong. Follow Lukman Nation on patreon.com/LukmanNation for lots of great content.